Well, it's opening day on Rutland water, 1st of April. Season's been delayed by a couple of weeks because of the ongoing COVID saga, but we're now finally back out. We're allowed to go fishing again, which is wonderful. There are fish here. I've already had one on a buzzer just under the surface. So now that I know they're here, I thought I would start filming. I've only been down here for about half an hour, and as soon I was fishing a heavy fly because I thought the fish would be deep down, but I then switched to buzzers, fished slowly just under the surface, and pretty much on the very first cast with those I had a few takes and then eventually landed a fish. So I'm going to try the exact same tactics in the exact same spot and see if there's more than one there. It's a lovely morning. There's a northwesterly wind blowing, which is actually perfect for this spot, and that's why I came straight here. I was absolutely stunned to find that there was no one else here. The usual hot spots of Old Hall Bay are filled with anglers, and to the left of me there's a lot of anglers. I just think they may just not have come here because it's a bit too far to drive, and yet again, often it's where there's less anglers there's more fish. Or that's what I'm hoping anyway. And that fish took the top dropper, so it was just under the surface. So that means the fish are feeding on buzzers quite high in the water, which is a bit surprising considering it is quite cold today. But it's been warm the last couple of days in the nearly 20 degrees, so that's maybe brought the fly hatches on. So we shall see. The last one took when I was almost doing nothing with the fly. I just let the fly come round in the water. Oh, there we go. Excellent. Exactly the same tactics. They're quite far out, but they are there and they are feeding on buzzers. Classic buzzer fishing tactics. There we go. Get it onto the reel. I don't think they're big fish, but there's been no anglers on the water, so they haven't seen a fly before. And I think because they've been in for a while, they're fishing on natural food. They're not big fish, these are just stockies, but it's a fish. It's number 2 on opening day, which is rather good. And the good thing as well is you know that this is the first time this fish has ever been caught. It probably won't be the last time because it is going back. I'm not keeping any fish today. Just like the last one, a little stocky, but classic static buzzer fishing. I mean, that fish took when the fly I wasn't pulling the fly in at all. I just let it sit in the water and the fish just grabbed it. Because that's what the natural insects that the fish are feeding on are doing. They're just standing static in the water, getting ready to hatch and fly. I don't see anybody else catching them further up because I suspect everybody's trying deep water, cold water lure tactics when the fish are actually high in the water. This one's on the second buzzer, so slightly further down. Really nice fish. So let's just get this one unhooked and straight back into the water. Oops. Didn't get a hold of that properly. Need 2 hands for this. Come on, I'm letting you go. Very lightly hooked as well. And head back into the water, swimming. And that is the fly that I'm catching them on. Tiny little buzzer. In fact, that was a buzzer that I just tied a week or so ago. So 100% my own work. Now usually if you've had 2 fish and 2 casts, that means there's quite a lot of fish out here, so hopefully we might make quite a nice, entertaining, fishy video. I love this kind of fishing. There's nothing better than catching fish using tactics that are directly mimicking the insects that the fish are feeding on. It kind of feels authentic. And it's by far my favourite way of fishing. I think living local gives me an advantage because I can often come out for walks around the reservoir and I can take note of the temperature, the wind direction, and get an idea of the kind of currents in the water, and often just the insects. When I was walking around the reservoir in the last couple of days, there was a lot of flies, a lot of midges in the air, buzzers, that we know that, and I thought if the buzzers are in the air, they're in the water because that's where they're coming from. And I think that's been borne out to be true so far. So that's 2 fish. It's a nice way to start the season. There's nothing worse than coming out first day and catching nothing. Normally the static buzzer is a tactic that I use late April, May time. It's not really something that you use this early in the season, but a couple of times it's worked for me. 6 years ago, fishing about 600 yards to my left, I caught fish on opening day using exactly the same tactics when everybody else was bashing away on lures. Now that I know what they're on, I'm going to change the point fly and put another buzzer on. I've caught 2 flies on buzzers, so if I fish 3 buzzers, I'm maximising my chances. I've got a bloodworm, which is the larval imitation of the buzzer, which is this, and that's not caught anything, so it's coming off. I'm putting on another buzzer. One of the problems of getting old is that my eyes don't work anymore. And for those of you that are very finicky, I'm nipping the line tight to the fly. I get criticised for being lazy and not doing that all the time, but it's never really caused me any problems. But today, given that we're on YouTube and everybody's watching, I think I better be on my most professional and best fishing behaviour. And there we go. Now same thing, we'll just let this fly come around in the current. Really not moving it at all. I mean, the last 2 fish were quite far out. I think I'm going to cast more at 45 degrees because I'm getting a bit of a bow in the line, and that might be stopping me feeling the takes. So I'm going to cast more directly down wind, see if that helps. That's better. It should come round more naturally. Fair to say the fishing isn't prolific, but I mean, I have had 2 fish on the same tactics, so I'm going to stick with what I'm using because I know it works. This time of the year the fish can be very temperamental. They can be feeding 1 minute and then gone the next. Right, I'm going to move to the point and try fishing from the point round into the slacker water. I have a feeling that looks slightly more fishy. Give that a try. One of the things I always find when fishing Rutland is it's a bit like salmon fishing. It's always better to keep on the move. If the fish stop taking, it's either because they're not feeding anymore or they've moved. So sometimes just moving a few feet down the bank can make a huge difference. So I'm now going to fish off this point because I think it should bring the flies around really nicely. I'm actually seeing some buzzer life in the water here as well, so there are flies around. The fish are probably feeding on insects this morning. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to oh, that was a fish there. I'm going to gradually edge my way back up the bank. That was a little take. Tentative, but it was a take. I'm going to change the point fly again. I have a feeling that maybe this buzzer's a little too heavy and is pulling the flies down too deep. I've got one of these feelings that the fish are actually quite high up in the water. Next fly I'm putting on is a cormorant. This is one of my favourite early season lure type flies. It works well with imitative patterns above it. If anybody has a new pair of eyes, believe it or not, my eyesight got better at my last eye test. But given that I normally have to wear varifocals, these varifocal contact lenses don't work particularly well. Oh, there was a fish just out there, right at the limit of my cast. So I've obviously been catching them quite far out. And that one was definitely feeding on the surface. It was heading and tailing, so I think the fish are far out, but they're definitely there. And I've got the right tactics. There we go. Oh, that was an excellent one. Absolutely excellent. Exactly what I thought it. Whoa, whoa. Whoa. We've got I think we've hooked a flying fish here. But exactly, almost the spot where I saw the fish rise is where that one took. Right on the surface, but quite a way out. If these fish are not close in today, you have to be able to throw a decent line to be able to get to them. Again, and that one really came up and grabbed it. Really grabbed it. Whoa! This is a cracking fish. I don't think it's big, it's just lively. I'm going to let it go, so it's on the buzzer again and on the top buzzer. So exactly like I said, the fish are very close to the surface. So I've had two on the top fly, which is closest to the surface, and one on the fly below. So that means the fish are on the top 3 feet of the water. Whoa, this is a nice piece of and as usual, an angler has seen me catching a fish, so has decided to come and join me. Christ, there's two of them, this is great. So the peaceful solitude ends. And another one that is going to go back. Made a right mess of my fly line, this one did though. Right, let's go back, and you go, come on. There you go. Gently back. Yes, no, not back in the net. There you go. Right, hopefully I haven't run out of film now. I'm trying my last tactic, which is pretty much fishing on the surface. I've got a buoyant fly right at the point with 2 buzzers on the droppers, and I'm hoping that the fish are just under the surface, so we'll see.